Hey guys, Golic here. We want to thank Allstate for teaming up with the Golic and Wingo podcast this season. Allstate is also teaming up with fans across the country to let them know about the magic of mayhem. Mayhem during college football season is inevitable, be it good or bad. Whether it's a backup quarterback leading his team to a second-half comeback in the national championship game or the countless number of rivalries across the country, mayhem will definitely leave its mark. Simply put, mayhem in college football cannot be stopped. Unfortunately, it's not confined to the stadium. Fender benders on the way home, pop tires, cracked windshields, mayhem is everywhere. That's why I'm here to remind you that in those crazy moments off the field, Allstate is here to help. Leave it to me to cover the mayhem in the game, but stick with the experts at Allstate to cover the mayhem off the field. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem. For expert advice, call your local agent today.
Hey college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/20/18. Contest rules online.
Somebody's feeling something this morning, no question. Glad you're with us. Happy Wednesday. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Again, every day now on ESPN2 for the first 2 hours of the show. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. How are we, boys?
Doing well. I can't even fathom playing tennis for 4 hours and 49 minutes. Like real tennis, like going out and like playing against somebody.
Like high-level major competition.
Major tennis. Yeah. Mike and I know I couldn't go after the show with you yesterday because you asked me, Trey. Yeah. But Mike and I ended up golfing yesterday for 9 holes. Sad. And I know.
Hashtag sad.
We're going to golf. You and I promise you we're going to golf.
All right. Fine.
We golfed 9 holes. It took maybe 2 hours, a little less, and we were just in a golf cart and then walking occasionally. And I was really tired. I can't imagine 4 hours and 49 minutes of tennis.
I can't imagine being out on a tennis court for 4 hours in any capacity, like going slowly, practicing a little bit, and they're out there 4 hours of high-level tennis, of the strategy on the fly. It was an absolute war of attrition last night, and we got the guy we figured coming out on top.
And that's exactly why tennis, the fittest people in sports are tennis players, because A, they're out there on their own. They don't have anybody else to rely on. They can't even get coaching from their coach's box. And the beauty of tennis is either you close them out or they close you out. There's no clock.
No clock.
You can't run out the clock. You can't just get through the 9th inning. You either have to finish them or they finish you. And speaking of finished, guys, we're almost there. We are at one of my favorite days of the year. One day more to the start of the NFL regular season. We are just 24 hours away from the good stuff.
You're excited about
that?
Oh,
yeah, let's go, baby.
I'm excited. I'll be more excited when it's actually game day.
Yeah. Well, that'll be tomorrow.
But I can't
play one day more tomorrow.
Yeah. I know, that's true. You really wanted to get the one day more in.
Saw that saw that tweet out there. I knew it was coming a mile away this morning, and
Trey, if people knew how hard Trey worked for that one soundbite. It's unbelievable, yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Which means we're going to get it about 2,000 times this show.
He asked for it special, so it will be, as we say, overplayed.
Rule number 1, don't let me have the drops.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Board. So I will stay Wingo. You better frickin' believe it, baby. So we are ready to roll. We are one day away from the start of the NFL season, and we still have a lot of questions, and you'll hear from Eagles head coach Doug Peterson, one of the all-time great soundbites of all time. He
explained some things.
He tried to. It could have been really condensed to just one phrase, which we'll get to a little bit later. But as we said, there was an epic match at the U.S. Open last night. So let's start what's trending right there. Rafa Nadal, your defending champion, had to work hard to take down Dominic Thiem on Tuesday. 5 sets and a deciding 5th set tiebreaker to move into the U.S. Open semifinals. Here is how that final point sounded.
Match Nadal. 3 sets to 2. Love 6, 6-4, 7-5, 6-7, 7-6.
A brutal, bruising, beautiful battle. And at 2:03 a.m., the champion finally subdues the challenger.
And that was our own Chris Fowler on the call on ESPN. 4 hours, 49 minutes.
And oh, by the way, he got bageled in the first set.
That's the amazing
He lost
thing.
the first set 6-love. It's happened to him. This was the fourth time it happened. The other three times he lost the match. In fourth time it happened to him in a major. Number one seeds to lose the opening set 6-love in a men's major in the Open era. Bjorn Borg did it twice. Once in Wimbledon, once at the French. Wimbledon 81, French in 76, and Rafa does it here and then goes on to win. I mean, that's unbelievable to me, to be bageled and then come back and win. And again, and we've been talking about the Heat yesterday, the juniors matches, they suspended them for a while. We're getting to other players that we'll talk about taking showers, retaping, laying down on the table, not wanting to come back out after their break. It's been brutal out there. For 4 hours and 49 minutes, you get bageled in the first set and come back and win.
I think we saw in both in the men's and women's side last night of the matches that we saw. The marquee one was Serena Williams, the other one too. Early struggles replaced by dominance after that, because Serena certainly struggled a bit out of the block and then won 8 straight games in between the end of the first and the beginning of the second sets of that match to go on to win there. So some impressive mental fortitude from people who have been around and been doing this a long time, the mental edge that comes with that.
And understand, this is not the first 4-hour match that Nadal has had at the Open this year.
Yeah.
He had an earlier round match that went 4 hours and 23 minutes. So the 17-time Grand Slam champion laying it all out there at the U.S. Open this year.
Guys, I just can say thank you very, very much, everybody, for staying here tonight. Have been an amazing feeling. I am playing a lot of hours this year on this beautiful stadium. That's not bothers me, just bothered my legs, but just very, very happy, and just can say thank you very much for all the support. That energy without you will be impossible to win the match.
It's amazing to me to play that long in that kind of heat. And as Mike mentioned again, Serena wins, starts off slow. Your defending champ, Sloane Stevens, she's out. And John Isner, our last chance as an American male to move on to the semis, he loses to Juan Martín del Potro. Del Potro was the one who said he showered in the break, retaped his ankles, lay down on the table, and thought, I don't want to go back out there. But he did go back out there, and he did win.
Listen, Delpo last year fought through this horrible cold, because you can't take any medicine when you're out there playing because you get tested for doping and you're all kinds of issues. I mean, we thought he was going to die in the first or second set. He came back and won the thing last year. That's going to be an interesting matchup. In those two matches alone, those two matches that he had earlier and the match last night, that's over 9 hours on the court in those two matches for Rafa Nadal. And that's why the U.S. Open is what everybody's talking about, brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. We continue what's trending. And our guy, Jim Furyk, Jimbo,
Furzy,
J-Man, Furzy, made the obvious choices and the right choices. The first 3 of his 4 captain's picks for the Ryder Cup, the guys literally, he went in order that weren't automatic qualifiers. The top 8 qualify. 9, 10, 11 went Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, and Tiger Woods, and that's who he picked. DeChambeau, Phil, and then Tiger.
We haven't, because we're just talking about the captain's picks, those that you may not know, that there are the automatic qualifiers. There's Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, and Webb Simpson. They were in. So these were the next 3 picks. There's still one more to go. We're hoping it's our guy, Tony Finau. We will see.
Book it.
He seems to be the favorite right now. But did you see the picture of DeChambeau and Mickelson and Woods together? It's Mickelson's, 12th straight?
Yeah.
Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Tiger's 8th. I mean, think about Tiger. I mean, where he was and where he's been a vice captain of this team. Hasn't played since 2012 on this team. So what an incredible comeback for him. Hopefully putting together a team enough to hold that title.
Yeah, I mean, it's all well and good to have the story there, but we want to win the damn thing, right?
Exactly right.
That's what it comes down to, and that's why all of us are going to be interested. You take what's already, I think, as far as golf goes, one of the more interesting settings, because it's a team setting, because there's that national pride on the line, and now you inject Tiger Woods in it. We've got the perfect storm of something that I'm sure is going to be an absolute ratings bonanza.
Yeah, listen, before last year or 2 years ago's win at Hazeltine, the U.S. had lost 3 straight. We won in 2008, then we lost in 10, 12, and 14, so it's nice to finally win. This team is stacked, by the way. They will, even though it's in Paris, this team is stacked, and they'll be the favorites to win. And really, if you go back to think about what you were just saying, Mike, about Tiger, it was on August 31st, 2017, he was cleared by his doctor to begin chipping again, just like hitting shots around the green. That's it. And now, just over a year later, he's back on a Ryder Cup, and obviously he's very happy about that.
Haven't been part of the team playing-wise for 6 years, and served as a vice captain a couple of years ago. And that was absolutely incredible to be part of the team, be part of these young guys, and just to try and help them in any way, shape, or form I could, whether it was with pairings, spikes, or sandwiches, or water, whatever they needed. I was there, and this year to have the honor to be able to play again is beyond special.
Tiger Woods, sandwich guy.
Hold on.
We believe that Tiger Woods is handing out orange slices and juice boxes at halftime of the Ryder Cup.
Mayo! I can't finish the sandwiches without some mayo.
Where's my mustard, Woods? We've been over this.
Wow. Handing out sandwiches, huh?
Changing spikes? I don't think so.
Changing spikes, bagging up some sandwiches.
I said Coors Light, damn it.
Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Ryder Cup is maybe my single favorite sporting event of all time because it's millionaires literally putting it on the line for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing it just for pride, for team, and for country. It's very, very cool.
After seeing Phil's tweet yesterday, I'm not sure someone's not paying Phil for all this one. Did you see Phil's tweet in response to this?
I didn't.
Feeling American spelled feeling with a PH.
Okay.
With sunglasses on, draped in the American flag.
He's listen, I know a lot of it's marketing, but he's going through something right now.
He's going through something.
He's going through something right now. Sure. It may have to do with marketing and money, but he's still going through something right now.
By the way, you brought up that picture of the three of them. You mentioned Phil. Did you notice that Bryson DeChambeau in that picture, the three of them, the tech science guy was the one guy that couldn't find the lens on the phone.
Yeah.
He was looking all over.
Wasn't the best thing in the world.
You said you weren't going to clock us. No. Do not do this to the Ryder Cup. Do not disrespect the Ryder Cup.
I just ignore it.
All right, we just continue. Well, it's going to be a WNBA showdown between the Washington Mystics and the Seattle Storm in the 2018 WNBA Finals. Washington making its first appearance, and Seattle looking to win its third title in 3 appearances. Both teams led by their superstars, Mike. The Mystics by Elena Deladon, and Sue Bird led the Storm.
Yeah, first Elena Deladon. I remember in that game, too, she went down. She has a brace on her knee, went down, and people thought, oh, no, it is going to be over for that team. Turned out to be a bone bruise, so she stays in, and she helps. She goes for 14 points, 11 rebounds. According to Elias, she joins Lisa Leslie in 2001 as the only players to open the postseason with 5 straight double-doubles. And you mentioned Sue Bird. We talked about her playing with what is her 5th broken nose she's had as a professional. Scores 14 of her 22 in the fourth quarter. By the way, the MVP of the league, Brianna Stewart, she scored 28. I mean, she's unbelievable as overall player. I understand Sue Bird getting the headline, having the huge fourth quarter, and Elena Deladon as well. But Brianna Stewart, what she's done coming to this league is ridiculous.
I mean, Sue Bird said it herself. Brianna Stewart kept them in this game almost single-handedly for a large portion of it. But Sue Bird, late game heroics, always going to get talked about there. And what a banner year for Washington, by the way. Get another representative, another chance to put a championship back in that city after the Capitals sort of broke the curse for everyone.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Brianna Stewart because people don't talk about her enough.
No.
Look, I believe, Maya Moore, and there's a bunch of them, and Sue Bird has been great, but I believe when it's all said and done, when you look at the greatest players in the history of UConn, outside of her own Rebecca Lobo, I think the two are probably going to be Diana Taurasi and Brianna Stewart.
I agree with that.
And by the way, kudos to Sue Bird, because if you didn't hear what she had to say on SportsCenter all night, this might have been the greatest sports cliche rip in the history of sports cliches.
Everybody listening, count them on your own. See how many you come up with.
This is just an epic. Sue, we love you. This is great.
It's to go to the finals. You got to leave it on the line to go to the finals. And that's all we kept saying, that we just wanted to make sure we had no regrets, stay in the moment, play each possession one at a time. And that's kind of the best part about this game. We went down early and just chipped away and kind of, stayed the course. And sometimes that can be hard. You can get caught up in the emotion of the game. But with this one, we didn't, and we pulled it out.
I had 7.
Yep. I had 7. 7. How long was that soundbite? How long does it say on that thing?
Like 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
So she averaged one cliche in less than 3 seconds.
She rattled off 3 in a row there, which helped the odds a lot.
It was fantastic.
Proud of her for setting the tone. NFL, take note. The Dan Le Batard Show Useless Sound Montage is coming back, and we need more ripe sports cliches like that back in our lives right now. Set the table right
and
there.
Again, we are in no way we're congratulating her
absolutely.
for that. Listen, she had more sports cliches than she had broken noses in her career.
There you go.
I mean, she only 5 broken noses, but 7 great sports cliches. So this will be a real. And the funny thing about this one, we'll move on. This is maybe a matchup of what Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, maybe some of the greatest players in UConn history, against the one that got away for UConn and Elena Deladon, who was committed to UConn, enrolled there, and then left to go back in Delaware because she wanted to be closer to her family and her sister who has special needs. So the greatest that UConn ever let slip away against some of the greatest players that played in the history of UConn basketball. So good for everybody. And the new AP College poll is out. Number 11, LSU, and number 12, Virginia Tech, made the biggest jumps in the first AP Press football poll of the regular season, while Ohio State at number 4 leapfrogged number 5, Wisconsin, after a week in which most of the top teams were specifically unchallenged.
Yeah, so to Trey's point, LSU jumped. They were 25th. They jumped to number 11, and Virginia Tech was number 20. They jumped to number 12. They had the biggest jumps. The biggest falls, Michigan dropped 7 spots to number 21 after their loss to Notre Dame, and the U dropped 14 spots after their loss as well, a loss to LSU where they got smoked in that game. So and again, none of this really means anything until we get to week 6 or whenever the first rankings come out. Maybe except for if you're not in the Power 5, how high can a team maybe be there? Does that influence the group of 12 or 13? However, it's 13. 13. When they start to look at this, but South Carolina jumps in, Florida jumps in as well, which sets up well because Georgia and South Carolina battle this week, so you get a good ranked battle there. But these are just for talk as we're doing now. It's really nothing else than that.
I enjoy them, though, because to me, the most useless of the preseason rankings. Now we have rankings that actually reflect what we've seen on the field. And I understand it's not the same for everybody. I mean, you get teams that just finished playing the Furmans and Weber States of the world, but it's still now based on...
Hey, don't knock the Paladins.
It's now something that we've seen based on the actual on-field product. And I know we had Jason Fitz in here Monday who talked about so much of the early portion of college football season is about hope. I don't think for many of these teams, hope has been deterred, with one exception, I think, being, and certainly I think lump the big droppers in there, the Miamis of the world. Florida State certainly got some question, but in there too, Michigan dropped 7 spots from 14 to 21 and has a lot to worry about because they're deep in the tenure. This isn't a new coach that's arrived that's trying to turn things around. This is one who's been there, who's now having real questions asked about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the first one in season is out, and obviously the results of what happened in week 1 of college football season shaped how that played out. And again, we'll look forward to the ones that really matter when the rankings begin. All right, Golic and Wingo on ESPN2 again, as well as ESPN Radio for the first 2 hours, presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. Well, we are going to combine 2 top stories that we had in What's Trending, which is the U.S. Open and the National Football League. Because today is game plan day for Sunday's games.
Yes, it is. Right.
And Le'Veon Bell is still not in Steelers camp. His center, Mike Pouncey, has said, hey, book it. He's going to be here and ready to roll, but that means he has to show up today, essentially. But he's not there, and head coach Mike Tomlin is basically saying nothing, but because it's Mike Tomlin, we like to hear what he had to say. And this is what Mike Tomlin had to say on First Take.
When he gets here, that's kind of been my mentality. That's been our collective mentality. We know what Le'Veon is capable of, his talents, and we also understand his circumstance. We've chosen to focus on the variables that are within our control, and that's the guys that are here and preparing and working. When Le'Veon gets here, we'll assess his overall readiness, and then we'll start the process of getting him ready to play. Until that time, we just need to focus on the guys that we have here and their readiness, and particularly their readiness this weekend as we open on the road in Cleveland.
Last year in week 1 against the Browns, he did basically the same thing. He had season lows in plays, in touches, and in yards from scrimmage. last year. So he would have to show up today, obviously, to have any shot. And I don't even know if that would be enough for Mike Tomlin, though it is Le'Veon Bell. But you do run the risk of putting him in on the field without really being in football shape yet. And make no mistake about it, he will not be in football shape when he shows up because you can't simulate that when you're out working out on your own. And also one more thing for everybody to remember as you see these negotiated deals that Odell Beckham got and Donald got and Matt got. This is not that case. Everybody has to remember that. He can only play for $14.5 million. He can only sign that franchise tag, tag number. That's it. There's no negotiation here. He either plays for $14.5 or he doesn't play. Or maybe he misses some games and gives up close to $1 million per game.
Yeah, which we still, as much as I can concoct in my head, ways like we talked about where that could be a route that might benefit him. Still don't see it. We still see him showing up, but today is going to have to be the day. And for the Steelers, I think you've got an even better insurance plan than you did last year. James Conner's looked really good this preseason. Looks like, and I mean, this is a guy that came out of college, obviously after having battled cancer, and is now looking like he's back in the shape of a guy before that. He looks lean, he looks fast, and he looks very good. And so even if Le'Veon is back and you don't want to put him on the field right away, you've got a great buffer going up against what's going to be a much improved Cleveland defense. We saw the speed of that Cleveland defense on display a lot. Obviously saw them up close and personal on Hard Knocks, but it's going to be a very interesting challenge for this group going into the regular season.
Look, it is, and without question, James Conner looks great. And they can rely on him for a little bit, but at the end of the day, Le'Veon Bell is Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And he's going to be a difference maker. So, and this is not the same Browns team that they played week 1 a year ago that were coming off a 1-win season. And that sounds funny because they're coming off a none-win season. But we all believe that they are a much better football team.
We keep wanting to believe, don't we?
Okay, yes or no, real quickly. Will Bell show up today?
Wow.
Yes.
You think yes?
Yeah.
Marquise Pouncey seems to think it was a guarantee he was showing up today. And I mean, I know he knows him well. I'll say yes.
Yeah. Don't make a liar out of Marquise Pouncey. Yeah. We don't want to go down that road. All right, coming up, an NFL head coach doesn't want to tell us the whys, the therefores, and the what went intos, but we'll figure it out about a very important decision, Mike, after this.
It's been a long offseason without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this: FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Will Kane. Age and state restrictions apply.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
County Fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Little vintage Tim McGraw. I throwed out my shoulder, by the way.
I
throwed out my shoulder. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, heretofore, hey now, forever after, yay and verily, 2 hours every morning, 6 to 8 Eastern on ESPN2. Junior seemed apoplectic when you and I started singing Tim McGraw there for a second. You all right?
Did you?
No, it's just fine. I'm just not used to hearing you bust into song right away, Trey. No offense. It's a little more on brand on this side of the table, so I was excited to hear it coaxed out of you this morning. I know you like a lot of the music Cliff brings to the table.
Oh, man.
By the way, County Fair, favorite games at those,
the rings over the bottles.
Really?
That's your favorite game?
That's your favorite game?
It's a skill set. I do very well at it.
So you win. So you win at that consistently.
I win at that consistently.
Really?
It's about landing it softly.
How about you? Do you have a favorite?
Me, the water pistol with the little target.
I like that too. Yeah, I do like that too.
I'm in no way shocked that was the same.
And that's all about the beginning. You don't hit that. You don't hit that bullseye right off the bat.
You're not winning.
You're not winning. You got to come out of the gate.
That's exactly right. Got to work on that aim. So a lot of times you have to stay there multiple times because you don't know about the sights of those things, the water pressure. So you're not sure where that first water stream is going. You're going to hit that bullseye. Usually by the second or third one, I'm kind of in. I kind of have it all down.
I love the fact like that you guys are going full DeChambeau trying to break down the scientific.
Got to break it down, man.
The sights might be off.
God forbid your little molded metal sight on that thing is off at all. Then
right.
You're up. What's created.
How pure is the sighting there? I mean, right? Really?
Well, and sometimes you get a bad one. Sometimes
use a compass to figure it out.
Get it out there. If you bust that out of the thing, they should be allowed to beat you from the other side of the table.
Point. Now, I think people on the other side of the glass are going to beat us for talking about county fair games.
Nobody over there can beat any of
us. That's fair.
Don't worry about
but we move on because one day more to the start of the NFL regular season. It'll be the Philadelphia Eagles welcoming in the Atlanta Falcons. And, of course, this will be a rematch of the divisional round where it was a goal line stand by the Eagles that allowed them to move on and eventually go on to win the Super Bowl championship. So for more on the opener and what's going to happen with the Eagles, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And this is the perfect segue. We'll talk about Straight Talk because if you want to hear the less straight talk ever, it might be head coach Doug Peterson talking about how he got around to the decision that it was going to be Nick Foles and not Carson Wentz coming back from the torn ACL and LCL in December, starting week 1. This is about the least straight talk you'll ever hear.
Well, I tell you what, obviously I'm not going to get into all the whys and therefores and what went into this, what went into that. Made the decision, have been in conversation, obviously, with both Carson and Nick this entire time, dating all the way back to the spring. And I made the decision yesterday, and both guys have embraced it, and we're getting focused and ready for Thursday night.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons he said he had the reaction he did to the media is because the media is reporting that the decision was already made and that Carson Wentz heard it through the media, and that's why Doug was saying, you're putting words in my mouth, and it got a little testy with all of them, and the testiness seems to be over now.
Yeah, we've moved on from that and now moved on to week 1. And I think it's interesting now that this decision's been made, how it makes us perceive the Eagles going into week 1. Like we were sitting in here yesterday and you guys fill out, you fill out your picks that end up going on ESPN.com with everybody else for week 1. And that game was the first one. Obviously, it's the first game on Thursday night kicking us off. But looking at that, this was a Nick Foles-led team that beat the Falcons in the playoffs last year in games that actually mattered. And yet I'm still looking at this because of Nick Foles coming off some injuries of his own during the preseason where he didn't look stellar and thinking, man, Atlanta could take this one to start the year.
I heard you talking this morning saying you think more people are leaning toward Atlanta. I'm not. I picked Philadelphia in this game. I still think I don't put a lot of stock in the preseason. Get out healthy, get out clean and get ready to go. I still like that Philadelphia Eagle offensive line to possibly help control the ball. And we'll see. Nick Foles did not play well in the preseason, but again, I'll say it. I don't put a lot of stock on the preseason for more veteran guys, especially a guy who did what he did last year. So I still think they get the win in this one. Atlanta coming in, fully gassed up. Julio Jones, you had the little wondering what was going to go out with him. He got satisfied a little bit with a few more $1 million on there, which he'll be asking for a hell of a lot more once his deal's getting close to being up. But I get why people may want to lean toward Atlanta a little bit in this one, but I'm going to go with the home team in this one.
Listen, what I took away from that first Doug Peterson soundbite is I so wanted Carson Wentz to start, but he wasn't cleared by medical. So the question then becomes, how close is Carson? Who, again, for context, this is really important. He tore not only the ACL, but the LCL in December. So that's 2 torn ligaments in December, and we're only in September. So where are we with seeing Carson Wentz on the field?
Close. I'm no doctor, no expert. I'm still leaving it up to the medical team. He's had some great workouts here in the last few days, and we'll see.
This is the one area where I feel like, as Doug Peterson seems to want to keep something close to the vest after having to begrudgingly tell us who the quarterback is going to be for week 1. This is the one I get, because when it comes to Carson Wentz's health, this is what you have to protect, right? Is this idea of trying to rush him back sooner than expected. And so the cloudier you keep that, the more you can keep it in the hands of people within that organization that would, in theory, have Carson Wentz best interest in mind. That being Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, and this medical staff who all hope to be around here for a long time because of how successful Carson Wentz Wentz is going to be.
We are the pettiest show in America, as you guys know.
The pettiest show in America!
And I do this all the time, but I just have to applaud that. You tried to say Carson Wentz's best effort, and you went Carson West's best effort. It was amazing. It was really good.
We are the pettiest show in America.
I do it all the time, so feel free. I just thought that was great. Carson West's best interest. It was good.
You can't even repeat it.
I can't. It was very good.
I didn't remember saying it.
I didn't remember hearing it. It shows, I guess, I wasn't listening. As far as I was concerned, wasn't a contest to try and get Carson Wentz back. I mean, as you mentioned, he hurt it in December. I mean, you got to give this thing some time. They play this game, and obviously the more rest, the better you are. And he hasn't even been cleared yet, as we said, to talk about contact. He was doing 11-on-11 drills, but as we know, there's no contact for the quarterback, unless you're in Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger runs into his own lineman or something like that. But I mean, you have this game, then you got 10 days. You got 10 days until you're at Tampa Bay.
Well, you have 10, but then you're at Tampa Bay, and you're at Tampa Bay, and you're at Indianapolis, and you're at Tennessee after that.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a beginning.
It's not murderer's row.
The first quarter of that season has 4 very winnable games for the Philadelphia Eagles, even if Nick Foles is under center.
Atlanta's the toughest game, right? I would say out of the first quarter of the season, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, Tennessee. It would be Atlanta. It'd be the opening game.
Yeah, Tennessee's interesting, but you're right. Atlanta is fully primed. Now, there's a little issue with Freeman's knee going back to last year, so we'll see if that lingers into this season.
But especially for the purposes of the Eagle offense, that'll be without Carson Wentz. Those defenses certainly open themselves up to some...
That's true. None of those defenses, you're really going, oh boy, the horror of those. You're just not.
And the question then becomes will we see better Nick Foles than we saw this summer? And Doug Peterson says, yeah, we'll get there.
Now we really can dive into more of the playbook, obviously, and things that he's comfortable with and the offense is comfortable with, and just get more rep at it this week, the timing, the accuracy, decision-making. Obviously you won't know until Thursday night, but it's been a good week.
Okay, so let's all assume that he's not going to be Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles, right? Let's assume that's not going to happen. In 15, 20 seconds, what are reasonable expectations?
I still think that he leads this team well. Yeah. Is he going to set any unbelievable marks? Probably not, but he has command of this offense. They're into the game plan mode now. He's got a really good offensive line, obviously, in front of him. I don't see him struggling and playing poorly like he did in the preseason. I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, this is an offense that can certainly tailor itself to someone to be more of a game manager. And I think at the end of the day, through the highs and the lows of Nick Foles, I think the one thing we could settle on is he can go out there and at the very least get you through those first couple of games with the complement of weapons evenly distributed as they are around him.
And that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up, a surprise selection on a depth chart at quarterback that may have little to do with quarterback and more about something else.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
The voice of Monday Night Football.
So excited to talk to Booger McFarland.
Delighted to be joined now by Joe Tessitore.
Whoa. I was promised Booger McFarland. What's going on?
What do you mean you were promised?
I mean, the voice of Monday Night Football.
That would be Joe Tessitore.
I'm going to sit this one.
Joe, I will not stand for this slander.
Sorry to disappoint Jake.
Oh!
I always go with the more handsome Golic.
From the top rope.
Joe Tess with the first round knockout.
It's a standing 8 count, and Golic Jr. is down.
That's a great shot by Tess.
Anyone else in here get dragged by the guy on Monday Night Football?
Well,
not just me.
To be fair, you started the dragging.
You did.
It's not like
you absolutely did.
Listen, Booger's a pretty prominent force in that booth, all right?
You deserve
by not being in the booth. Yeah,
you deserve what you got.
Wouldn't tell listening to it. Sounds like he's right in there. Sports Center brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. When a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract. And they use the same exact 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
All right, we continue Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, and ESPN2 now for the first 2 hours of our fine program, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So we spent a lot of this offseason talking about the depth chart at quarterback for the Eagles in terms of the starter. Who's going to be there week 1? Now we know it's going to be Nick Foles, and maybe it'll be Carson Wentz by week 2 when there's 10 days to rest. Maybe not. You just never know. But there's another quarterback depth chart that suddenly got very interesting in how it's structured. And it has nothing to do with the starter, but more to do with the backup. As it stands right now in Baltimore, Joe Flacco obviously still entrenched as the starter, but the backup is listed as rookie Lamar Jackson, and the third or emergency quarterback is RG3. Surprised?
I guess I am a little bit, knowing that you're going right to Lamar Jackson as the backup, though I will say that the thought process was to have packages for Lamar so that he was going to play, whether it wasn't going to be the starter, but you would see him on the field. You would use his abilities on the field, and this may be the sign that that's exactly what's going to be happening.
Yeah, well, that would actually have been the logic for what I would have thought would have been why he would have been at the third string. So, but it's interesting. We just saw last night, the last episode of Hard Knock, same situation in Cleveland right now, where you end up keeping three, because keeping three quarterbacks is the dilemma for this at the end of the roster, right? Is were they going to keep RG3 around to have that third quarterback in the room as a buffer there? But you got the same thing going on in Cleveland, where Tyrod Taylor's the day one starter, but Baker Mayfield and not the who's the veteran backup they got on the team?
It's
Drew Stanton.
Drew Stanton. Yeah. So they announced Baker Mayfield going to be the backup over Drew Stanton, but Drew Stanton's still on the roster. So you've got that sort of interesting mirror there.
Well, again, another way to look at this is, are they using Lamar Jackson not only as a backup quarterback or keeping him that way because they want to use him at other positions? Now, the Ravens right now have 6 wide receivers on their roster. The Browns also have 6. So do we think that's more about using him in different ways?
No, I don't think you're going to see him out in the slot or out at wide receiver. I think you'd see him as a quarterback in a package that could be either a running quarterback or an on-the-move quarterback to throw the ball also down the field and be used as that weapon. Antoine Randall, when he came in the league after being
quarterback
in Indiana. And kind of using him in that mode. I do not see Lamar Jackson splitting out in a wide receiver position.
No, because I think you want to keep him in an area where he's protected, right? Yeah. So as long as he's in the backfield, regardless. I mean, we saw the clips in the preseason of him throwing a pass to Joe Flacco, which would involve him still in a backfield set. You keep him behind the line. You keep your first-round quarterback, because as late as he was in the first round, that's still a first-round quarterback that you drafted on your team. That's still someone that you have invested a bunch of value in, a bunch of draft capital in, and so you've got to make sure you don't put him in a compromised position, like lining him up and asking him to be a wide receiver when he's not.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because if you have a new toy, you want to see what it can do. And by the way, not specifically being a quarterback is sort of what hurt RG3 when they had him be more of a runner than a quarterback, and that sort of changed his career going forward. But our own Bill Polian, the Hall of Famer and the NFL Insider, says, listen, as a weapon, Lamar Jackson is really interesting, but he can't do 2 things.
With the ball in his hands, he's the most dynamic player in the league. There's only A.B. and Saquon Barkley are in his league with the ball in his hands, so running it. So he's going to be on the field. The question then becomes, can he handle both jobs? My answer would be no.
So that's Bill basically last week saying, look, man, he's dynamic, but you can't have him be a dynamic playmaker and be your backup quarterback.
Well, so it's the play call that you do. I mean, do you run a read option for him where you know he's going to run the ball? Or do you just have him on the move in like half boots or rollouts to where he is on the move, he can use his legs, but the initial thought is throw the ball downfield because we know we can throw. But remember the first play they gave Deshaun Watson when he came into the game was a rollout. So it was either run the ball or hit a couple of your options and get rid of it. Is it a situation like that with Lamar where you don't necessarily say you're just going to run no matter what? You do have the option to pass that, because that's the first thing as a former defensive player can keep you on your heels. Is he going to run? Do I need to attack him? Is for a linebacker or a DB, is he going to run? Do I need to come up and support him as he runs? Or is he going to throw the ball? Do I need to hang back?
I think it's either trick plays or red zone gimmicks to give them that extra run option that Flacco doesn't have. I don't think it's going to just be base level install plays like that.
Well, we're about to find out. It'll be a very interesting situation going forward. A lot of moving parts there. But again, as it looks right now, you have RG3 as the emergency or third string quarterback playing very well. And Lamar Jackson right now is your backup in Baltimore. Coming up for one of the greatest prizes in sports, there's apparently only one hard, fast rule: no keg stands.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Hey guys, Golic here. We want to thank Allstate for teaming up with the Golic and Wingo podcast this season. Allstate is also teaming up with fans across the country to let them know about the magic of mayhem. Mayhem during college football season is inevitable, be it good or bad. Whether it's a backup quarterback leading his team to a second-half comeback in the national championship game or the countless number of rivalries across the country, mayhem will definitely leave its mark. Simply put, mayhem in college football cannot be stopped. Unfortunately, it's not confined to the stadium. Fender benders on the way home, popped tires, cracked windshields, mayhem is everywhere. That's why I'm here to remind you that in those crazy moments off the field, Allstate is here to help. Leave it to me to cover the mayhem in the game, but stick with the experts at Allstate to cover the mayhem off the field. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem. For expert advice, call your local agent today.
Hey, college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/20/18. Contest rules online.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Glad you're with us. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here.
So what's interesting of the whole Le'Veon Bell thing is today is install day, but guys are probably there. It's probably a lifting day. Probably in the weight room right now. I'm sure we got guys there lifting. I would imagine, right?
Yep, someone coming in there early in the morning, getting a sweat, or going in and firing up the film.
I wonder if Le'Veon is, if he's not there and if he's going to show up today, it's going to be pretty soon. If he's not there already, we don't know, obviously. I'm sure we'll find out, but we're getting right around that crunch time. First meeting's probably, 8 o'clock? Maybe 9. I'm not sure how every team does it a little bit differently.
Yep.
Some guys, again, they'll split it by a lot of times by position who comes in and maybe has to lift. I would imagine the O-line's already lifting.
Probably. And I mean, listen, it's week 1, 2. You're getting antsy. You're finally to the real football. You're out of the doldrums of training camp. So guys are going to be in there finding out pretty quickly. And I have to imagine, as much as everyone's going to try and downplay this, Mike Tomlin included, that it's on everybody's mind waiting to see if this is true. And some of them I'm sure know. Like, I'm very interested because Marquise Pouncey probably knows Le'Veon pretty well at this point.
Exactly.
If this is something he's communicated to his teammates at all yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he knows him that well, because if he knew him that well, he would have said book it instead of count it.
Yeah, it's a fair point, Trey.
Good point.
I felt like he went as strong as he could without actually booking it.
Right.
Yeah, count it, step down there.
Correct.
You're waffling a little bit still.
He left him some room. He left himself
Let
some
me
room.
just say, if Le'Veon Bell is going to show up today and we don't get many things happening during our show, it's going to happen during our show.
Correct.
There is no doubt about that.
Yeah. He's not going to stroll in at 6 o'clock tonight and say, okay,
no,
boys.
No, he's not.
Ready to roll.
No, he's not.
So we've got a lot to get to, including some fallout and some reaction to the Nike decision to have Colin Kaepernick as part of their 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. We'll get to all of that after we start with what's trending And Rafa once again working hard. Rafa Nadal lost the first set to Dominic Thiem 6-love and battled back in a 4-hour, 49-minute match, needing 5 sets and a deciding set tiebreaker to move on to the U.S. Open semifinals.
4th time he's been bageled in a major. The other 3 times he lost. For this number 1 seeds to lose the opening set at a men's major. It happened 2 other times. Both times it was Bjorn Borg in 81 and in 76 that went on to win. Incredible. I mean, 4 hours, 49 minutes in this heat, everybody talking and complaining about the heat. You got the break in the men's where they're actually going back into the locker room. You have guys taking a shower, retaping, hanging, chilling out as much as they can. I mean, it blows my mind. I mean, you sit there and you watch this thing. You have to really understand what's going into this and the condition that these tennis players have to be in anyway to play that long, let alone in this kind of heat.
That sounds like a 2-a-day. The idea of showering and getting retaped is actually mental torture in the middle of that. Because I understand you feel the need to do it, and especially with the tape and everything like that, you want to refortify.
Right.
But going through that process again and having to go back out there, there's just something so mentally taxing about that. You can't really understate what role that plays in the middle of a round.
Rafa has talked about this many times, saying to win a match like that, you have to be willing to suffer. And he admitted suffering was a big part of what happened last night and, quite frankly, this morning.
Guys, I just can say thank you very, very much, everybody, for staying here tonight. Have been an amazing feeling. I am playing a lot of hours this year on this beautiful stadium. That's not bothers me, just bothered my legs, but just very, very happy, and just can say thank you very much for all the support. That energy without you will be impossible to win the match.
What we don't know is he had to get up this morning for a fantasy football draft like John Millman did.
Yeah, exactly right.
And by the way, we'll get into John Millman's actual draft. He took a leap of faith with that one. He did.
He absolutely did. He's waited with bated breath this morning as well. If that leads you to who you think his pick was. Serena Williams, she gets a win against former world number 1 player Caroline Pliskova. She started out slow in this one and then gets the win 6-4, 6-3. Defending champ Sloane Stephens, she got beat. John Isner, our last American hope on the men's side, he got beat by Juan Martín Del Potro. He was the one who said, Del Potro in the break, he showered, he retaped, he said, I don't want to go back out there. He laid down on that table to get retaped. He's like, I don't want to go back out. He went back out and he won. They pushed some, or they stopped some junior matches yesterday as well with the heat. It's been tough, been very difficult and stifling with that humidity out there.
We were a day removed from seeing Roger Federer sort of humbled by the heat out there. Yeah. And I thought that was going to go that way for Serena for a while. She just looked out of sorts, wasn't very accurate, didn't seem to have a ton of control, and then somewhere just flipped the switch, as she often does. But you saw that very clear moment where she rattled off 8 straight games at that point between the first and the second set and really took control of the match. But for her, I always enjoy, she really wears the emotion out there.
Yes, she does.
You battle through all of that with an all-time great, and it's tremendous theater. She really knows how to bring that in.
Well, that's the thing about the Open. The U.S. Open always is the biggest theater stage of the 4 majors. It really is. The Australian's the fun one. The French is the quirky one because of the clay. You never know.
Right.
Wimbledon is Wimbledon. And the U.S. Open is the drama, the bright lights, all that stuff in New York City. By the way, back to Nadal real quickly. That was his second match at this U.S. Open that lasted over 4 hours. He had another one earlier that was 4 hours and 23 minutes. And that stat's incredible. Brought to you by OnStar. Advisors are ready to help when the unexpected happens. OnStar, hey, be safe out there. Well, speaking of being safe, a fan was hit in the face by a foul ball and taken to a hospital during Tuesday night's game between the Tigers and the White Sox in Chicago. The man was sitting in the first row on the first base side at Guaranteed Rate Field, well beyond, guys, where that netting extends on the camera box past the dugout when he was struck by that liner.
We bring that up because it's happened over the last few years, whether it's a ball, a bat getting coming, a broken bat, or a fullback going out of the hands of the batter. Where should that netting go? How far down the line do you make this thing go? Does that interrupt the enjoyment of the game for people who are sitting closer to the field? Do they not want to put the net up? And then every now and again we get one of these and you just fear where it's got to go before more netting goes up. So as you said, just right past the netting, line shot foul ball, game was held up for a few minutes, and the word used, bleeding profusely from the face when the guy got hit in the face, ended up walking to the first aid station before being transported to the hospital. Obviously, if we hear about anything of his condition, we'll pass that along. But it's got to be an unbelievable, scary moment, and you just pray you have those seats that, you know, people are aware of what's going on, whether it's a ball or a bat coming at you, and you're able to catch it, avoid it, or get the hell out of the way, or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, only so much you can be aware of, though. I mean, there's a million distractions as you're sitting there watching a game, so you can try and certainly protect against it as best you can, but as far as the responsibility of people sitting there, you're still interacting with the game environment like everyone else, so unfortunately you can't be ready and always watching for something like this.
Well, and that's the thing with a baseball game, there are so many lulls.
Yep.
You know, it's easy to get to not be locked in
every single pitch
on every pitch, and your mind wanders for 1 second, and boy, you just hope for everything for the best here. And again, we'll see how that plays out, and if we get any update on this condition, as you said, Mike, we will let you know. All right, as we continue here on Golic and Wingo with one more item in What's Trending. Alex Ovechkin,
oh boy,
took the Stanley Cup to the World Cup, Washington Nationals baseball game, slept with a thing. It was all fine, except he crossed that line of demarcation, guys, and that line of demarcation, keg stands. Can't do it. Not going to have it.
Not sure why you can't. I don't really understand.
Well, so they said they're worried about the cup being hurt in this. You're putting a lot of pressure. Anytime you're doing a keg stand, you're putting a lot of pressure on the surface below it, and it's not a fortified keg. It's the Stanley Cup. And so I know the keeper of the cup, Phil Pritchard.
You're not laying on it.
By the way, that is one of the great. I'm the keeper of the cup.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good title. What is your title? Keeper of the cup.
That's got to get you some free drinks.
Yes, continue.
But I thought it was interesting. It's not officially banned yet. When the cup goes in after it's run with everyone here, it's going to get a little checkup from the neck up, a little tune-up, to see if there's been any structural damage and if they have to actually ban keg stands going forward.
I mean, I get it. You're putting your hands on the keg, and just think of it, you're standing on your hands on the keg, so your weight's on it. Put something around the Stanley Cup that you could put your hands on. You know, whatever.
Well, see, that's less fun though than just going right in and saying I did a keg stand out of the Stanley Cup.
I can see that being a tough call though. I mean, the integrity of the cup and staying together. I mean, you could really damage that thing.
This is just such straight up hockey guy territory though.
It really is.
Like I said this morning, we were back at Notre Dame this weekend, and everyone else that's around my age right now, as the guys approach 30, we all kind of took the night off on Saturday night after, and I was getting videos from my old friends that were on the hockey team doing keg stands at 4:30 in the morning while I was sound asleep. So it is a group that would absolutely test the limits of the cup like
Junior,
this.
I know you've done a keg stand.
Yeah, well, I always said it's difficult being the big guy at the party and trying to do
people
that.
Up. That's just you get your teammates who
got to hold you up, right?
Yeah, it's got to be the rest of the
Have you
line.
ever done a keg stand?
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
What day is it? Yes, I have.
I don't think
when I say what day is it, yes, I did them in college. I haven't really done it since.
They weren't that big when we were in college.
It still worked, yeah. Oh, it definitely
I'm not
did
sure
one,
if I ever did a keg stand.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I did a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I did a keg stand.
How close is the nearest liquor store? Like, if any liquor store is listening right now, you can get us a keg this morning. We need Wingo to do a keg stand here. I don't know if we can legally do this at work, but we'll find out. Ask forgiveness, not
beer
permission.
bong? You done a beer bong?
What?
Beer bong?
What?
A beer bong?
A funnel? A beer funnel?
What?
Have you funneled a beer before?
You've never funneled?
Oh, okay. I was like, do you? Have you had alcohol?
Ah, the big hook right there.
It just tastes so good when it hits your lips.
He's gonna do one. Yeah. He's gonna do one. Now, keg stands, I just think that was past us. I think for the most part, right?
No,
it seemed to be pretty in his prime.
No,
I don't think so.
Hell, when my brother Bob was at Notre Dame during some of the festivities,
he was in Prohibition, right?
We did keg tosses.
Thank you.
Prohibition.
they got it.
Wow.
You just let that one slip right by.
Because it was stupid.
Well, welcome to the theme of this show. So, come on. All right, Golic and Wingo with you as we continue to get set for the start of the NFL season, which is just 24 hours away. There it is. But we're still waiting to figure out what's going to happen on a bunch of issues. One of them is how this decision by Nike to incorporate Colin Kaepernick, who, by the way, is in the middle of a collusion lawsuit against the NFL.
Right?
And that's still ongoing, by the way, being part of Nike's 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. Obviously, it's gotten a lot of reaction on both sides. But Chris Long, who's always been a very thoughtful person, I think, in all of this, was asked about what this means going forward, having Kaepernick included, the Eagles' defensive lineman, who, by the way, is trying to do this season what only Ken Norton has done, win 3 straight Super Bowls, 3 straight years, the only player to have that claim. And this was his thought about it when he was asked.
What do you think it can do?
Well, I think for a lot of kids and for a lot of younger people that might feel like, especially probably people of color that are looking at Cap and saying, well, if I speak my mind, there's gonna be this negative repercussion by the powers that be, and the NFL being one of them, who's obviously levied unofficially their blackballing. But then you see a major corporation like Nike get behind them. It kind of reinforces that you can still stand up for what you believe in, and you can still be a mainstream face that people look at, and you can be marketable. And I think that's the positive of it to me.
And by the way, here is the official statement attributed to Jocelyn Moore from the NFL, their new Vice President of Communications and Public Affairs, about this. Because remember, Nike has just signed a 10-year extension.
Right.
Or actually, excuse me, an 8-year extension. Their deal is up after the 2020 season, so they have that one through, and then they have another 8 that comes on after that. So they're in a partnership with the NFL right now, and now they also have a partnership with Colin Kaepernick, who, as we said, is suing the NFL over the idea that they allegedly have colluded and conspired, as Chris Long alluded to in that soundbite, to keep him out of the league. So here's what the NFL said about it. The National Football League believes in dialogue, understanding, and unity. We embrace the role and responsibility of everyone involved with this game to promote meaningful, positive change in our communities. The social issues that Colin and other professional athletes have raised deserve our attention and action. And guys, I think we can all agree that sometimes the NFL spills it when they don't need to.
Yes.
And they get into some things that get them in trouble. I thought actually this was the best possible statement for them.
Yeah.
For a lot of levels. One, it just basically said, hey, we're behind the players, which has been an issue, right? The NBA and Adam Silver seem in lockstep about being partners and trying to work together. That has not been the case a lot of time with the NFL and the NFLPA and the players. This seems to be leaning down that road, and it's almost about not what they said, but what they didn't say.
This statement would have rang a little more hollow had they not pulled back on the national anthem policy, quite honestly. Right. Could you imagine that statement, but still having that policy out there where it kind of goes against everything they're trying to say right there? By the way, there's still no end in sight to what the policy is going to be. It's off the table.
Another thing hanging in the balance.
While both sides talk about this. It seems that this issue has started to, at least I heard from our guys' sides, Will Kane and Stephen A., over to the Nike side of this thing and Nike's role in this and what we're to believe about Nike and people jumping on Nike saying taking advantage of a social issue to make money and this kind of thing. My thought is, the hell did you expect?
They're a company.
They're not non-profit. They're for profit. And I did hear Stephen A. say, where were you the last couple of years? You had him on the payroll. Where were the shirts and where were the hats? Well, it would have been toxic to the company then. Nike is about selling gear and making money. If you want to believe it's under the guise of the social issue, well, I'm sure there's some intent there, but let's make no mistake about it. They're going to sell product from this and they're going to make money. So you can choose whatever you want to do out there. If you don't like what they're doing, don't buy it. If you have no problem with it, you buy it. But I just found it odd that it was all going to Nike with what their thought process was and why it took so long. And now they're going to they're going to profit.
That's their job.
What did we think anything different in any of their campaigns? Did any of their campaigns not make them millions and millions of dollars? That's what they do. So why should that shock us at all that they were doing this and they're going to make a profit on it?
It just seems inconsistent as a criticism because when we looked at the NFL and people talked about why Colin wasn't on a team or in the league, people would say, well, the NFL is a business and this conversation all affects their bottom line. There was no talk about their core beliefs then or how they're somehow disincentivized or disingenuous because there's a bottom line attached to it. Everybody's got to make money. The interesting part to me in this, and the part that I think Stephen A. and Will Kane both miss, is that Nike looked at Colin Kaepernick and said, this is someone we believe can be profitable.
Yeah.
Like throughout all of this, that's been the discussion is about what is Colin Kaepernick for business. And Nike said, this is an area where we think we can get a come up. Like with young, I read an article on CNN.
15 to 17.
15 to 17, but Nike said, I think in general, about 3/4 of their sneaker purchasing power comes from ages 35 and under, in a group that's going to be a little more aligned with this. And if you're Nike, you've been primed for this. You got LeBron James and Serena and a bunch of other athletes on the payroll that have already been either A, supporting Colin, or B, saying a lot of the same things. Like they absolutely knew this was a win, but the fact that it is a win is still, I think, the most noteworthy part of this.
Well, the funniest thing that came out of yesterday was, oh, look, the Nike stock dropped 1 percentage point. Clearly it's... Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. That is not having any understanding of how the market works, okay? By the way, that drop was almost along the line of all sneaker companies yesterday.
Correct.
Okay? So let's know what that is, and maybe most importantly, what that isn't.
Yeah.
There's a difference in causation and correlation, okay? Those are completely different things. Now, over a long time, if over a 3-week stretch, the stock continues to drop, then you may be able to connect the dots. A 1-day dip based on something usually never means anything.
It's a risk. Nike is taking
Without
a risk.
question.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
That is, but it's one that we believe is calculated. We talk about why they waited so long. You're weighing a lot of the options. You're gauging every part of this. And for them to look at it and say, based on what we've understood about our demographic, and everyone wanted to talk about the NFL understanding who their fan base was when they made decisions about this personnel move, Nike's making the same decision. And it's just very interesting that they understand that they believe this next generation of their consumer base buys into Colin Kaepernick, sees Colin Kaepernick as a positive force, sees this cause as just. Now, one thing that Stephen A. and Will touched on there that I think is going to be interesting, and I said this yesterday, is how does Nike stay true to the message that matters to those guys, that matters to Colin Kaepernick and to Malcolm Jenkins and to Eric Reed and all of these guys? How does their campaign reflect those values while also making money, which to me, if Colin Kaepernick's being paid and Nike's getting paid, that's kind of secondary to me to, all right, is this focusing on the core message?
Well, I mean, listen, as far as Nike, it's not, it's primary, right?
Yes.
I mean, for Nike as a business, there's a reason they didn't do this 2 years ago, right? It would have gone over like a lead balloon, correct? I mean, isn't there a reason they waited for this? There's a timing issue. That's why when I heard Stephen A. say, where were we the last 2 years? You know what they were doing? Waiting.
Yes.
They were waiting
They
for
were
the
calculating.
right business moment to hit the nail on the head, and basically they're trying to play the sides of the social issue and for profit. But let's make no mistake. Rarely, if ever, is Nike or any other company going to do something that doesn't try and make them money.
The metrics, obviously the metrics that they have monitored over the last 2 years in this say to them, this is a win for us. This can be a win for us despite the blowback. Now, that's not saying that corporations have thought that before and It's gone completely wrong. Just Google New Coke, kids, from the 80s and see what happened there.
70-some days, I think it lasted.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is clearly marketing strategies that have thought they were going to play out that didn't work, but they have obviously spent the time on this to think, yes, there will be blowback from a certain segment, a demographic, but our core demographic, we think this will win for us.
They've also aligned themselves with a specific message and a specific vantage point. Like, that's the risk. This isn't a company who said, oh, yeah, we found a win that allows us to stay in the middle and keep everyone happy. Right. No, this is one where they very clearly aligned with the message and with the goal of what Colin Kaepernick has espoused this entire time.
I completely agree with that, and they think it's going to be profitable because they think they waited long enough for this situation. Because I know there's so many people saying, well, now we've lost the message. Well, for a lot of people, people feel the message has been lost.
For a lot of people, the people never heard the message to begin with.
Yeah, and that is a shame because you want that message there. But is it up to Nike? Just like we say, for other companies, is it up to Nike to keep that? Now, they have aligned with that message. So I agree with you, Mike. How do they keep going along with that message? Yeah. But let's also, at the end of the day, they are a business. They are a for-profit business. And they are going to profit.
So to sum up, they took a risk that they believe will eventually pay off.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll tell you about somebody else that took a risk that they believe will eventually pay off. Plus, our guy, Fierzy. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Did he make the right choices? We'll get to all of that.
It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play. More ways to challenge your friends. And most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends. Because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
I am looking forward to talking to Jim Furyk, the Ryder Cup captain, when we get a chance again, who was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Again, first 2 hours of the show on radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So let's sound off on Jim Furyk's captain's picks, brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. So what was unknown became known on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, but really it was known. The 3 captain's picks of the 4 that Jim Furyk has at his disposal. The first 3 were announced yesterday, and they were Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, and Tiger Woods. Not really much of a surprise there, guys, because, again, the top 8 qualify for the Ryder Cup. And in sequential order, the next 3 that just missed qualifying, 9, 10, and 11, were Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, and Tiger Woods. So nothing that happened yesterday surprised either of you, right?
Yeah, it was chalk. It made it easy for Jim Furyk, in all honesty, because it would have been much more interesting had a Tiger Woods who was trending in the right direction. But we know from where he started this season with no points towards the Ryder Cup, to get to this point or to get close would have made it much more interesting. Would him trending in the right direction have superseded someone who was next in line on the points list?
Yeah, the next choice, these were the easy choices. This is like if you bet money on it, it wasn't any better than even money. That was going to be these 3 guys. The next one, Tony Finau seems to be the favorite. Now, he is not next in line. As you mentioned, Trey, these were the next 3 in line in the Ryder Cup points. Yeah. Finau is not the next in line.
No, the next in line would be Xander Schauffele. So, I mean, listen, they stopped the points, obviously, when they announced the team. So the top 8 that made the U.S. Ryder Cup team, Brooks Koepka, obviously 2 majors, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed, Bubba, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, and Webb Simpson. Those were the top 8. And as we said, DeChambeau, Mickelson, and Tiger were in descending order, 9, 10, 11. And then you get to that last pick, which will be announced next week. Now, 12 would be Xander Schauffele. 13 would be a veteran Matt Kuchar. 14 and 15, I think, are where the debate is going to fall here between Kevin Kisner, who's been very consistent, and Tony Finau, who is at 15th. And, of course, played that ridiculous round with Jim Furyk at the PGA Championship where I believe he had 1 par on his front side. I mean, he had 7 birdies and a triple bogey and a par. I mean, he was just all over the place. Now, I think that it's leaning or trending, to use a word that Jim Furyk has used quite a bit, toward Finau, because remember, it's match play. In match play, holes don't carry over. You either win the hole, you tie the hole, or you lose the hole. So if a guy can make 7 birdies and then gack away with a triple bogey, it really doesn't hurt you as much as it would in stroke play, because then you have to deal with those 3 over strokes throughout the entire 18 holes. It doesn't work that way. Well, crap, I lost that one. I'll go make the next 2 birdies on the next 3. So a birdie machine is something you like. For Kisner, the idea of keeping it a play for team play, like when, I don't want to mess up my partner. I understand that part of it. But when you got a guy that can birdie it from anywhere, that is a weapon in match play.
Great ankle flexibility, too. So
Yes.
we know we've got that in line. It's either great ankle flexibility or the guy that's killing me Schauffele with his swing.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Did you just go Roberta Flack?
Did somebody give you that?
I say in honor of our phone researcher, Brett Parada.
Yeah.
That was nice. Got to put that one. I know
Wait,
Brett
who?
would have loved that somewhere.
Yeah.
Who?
He's on this show?
I don't know who that is.
We don't talk about that man no more.
By the way, the biggest win for all this, and I don't even know who
Brett
has
being gone?
Who has the
Who's Brett?
Who has the rights to the Ryder Cup? Who's broadcasting?
Oh, yeah.
That's NBC.
Because as soon as Tiger was picked, that was boom, done.
Ratings bonanza.
They didn't need to listen to anything else.
People are sick of Tiger.
Oh,
Come on.
yeah.
People keep
come
telling
on,
us that.
Please.
They keep telling us
Needle
that.
moving.
Please. Yeah. I mean, that's all NBC was waiting to hear.
Yes.
And they knew they were going to hear it. As soon as they heard Tiger Woods, everything else
We're good.
Yeah, we're fine.
We're good.
All good. Pick whoever you want. Go ahead.
And the
We're
Ryder
good.
Cup's already a slam dunk because you
Absolutely.
have the national portion
Yes.
of this. Like once
Yes.
you put USA on anything, you wonder if there's carryover from the World Cup where we were all sitting around here nervously not able to root for America, and now the next thing we get to sink our teeth into is the Ryder Cup. Everyone just transfer that. We'll all be at bars and watch parties at 9 a.m. It's going to be great.
No, listen, this is a lot of fun. And obviously they're going up against the European team. And he's ready to name, Thomas Bjorn is going to name his wild card. They call them wild card picks over there. They call them captain's picks over here. But our team is quite frankly stacked. I mean, you've got, Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, and Phil Mickelson, all that have major championships under their belt. And normally, this is not an event that we do really well in because of the team play. But in 2016, we came out and stomped. And then in 2017 at the President's Cup, we actually it's a 3 or 4 day event. We won it the day before the event actually concluded. The President's Cup team absolutely destroyed the rest of the world that day. Sunday's matches became meaningless. They actually won the event on Saturday.
And I just now, because you had said that about watch parties and stuff, because it is over a college and NFL weekend. But as I just quickly looked, I did not realize.
There you go.
It's my fault.
Time change.
It's a 6-hour time change.
Yeah.
So they are going to be playing in the morning. Yeah. You're going to get golf in the morning, Ryder Cup in the morning, and then college and or pro football in the afternoon and the evening.
Yeah.
Hey,
wow.
Already penciling in right now. That is the day we make Trey's first keg stand happen.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Keg stand Wingo.
Let's go. I'll drink it from a mini Ryder Cup. How about
that?
I will hoist my chalice.
Wow.
Just
is that
like
going to be an awesome Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, it's just the best.
Look, wow.
It's the only, look, you may not like golf. I get it. I understand that. But the 2016 match between Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy was basically an MMA fight. It was a WWE fight with the crowds going nuts, screaming at each other. It's amazing. It's the only thing I know where millionaires fight to the death for free. Right? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, what am I getting paid here? We don't care. We just want to go kick the other guy's butt. So some might say those are some risky picks. Some might say the idea of what Nike is doing with Colin Kaepernick is risky. I don't know if anybody took a riskier pick than our guy, John Millman, who, remember, took down Roger Federer and then said, I got to get up for his fantasy draft. And he had the second overall pick. He was deciding between Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell. So Bell was off the board. I mean, Gurley was off the board with the second pick. So he went Le'Veon Bell. In fact, we have John Millman's entire fantasy draft. You want to hear it? You want to hear the entire John Millman fantasy team?
Yes,
okay.
do it.
His quarterback's Aaron Rodgers. He went Le'Veon Bell, second pick. He then Shady McCoy. His wide receivers, Marvin Jones and Emmanuel Sanders. Okay, that's interesting. Must be a PPR league. He must be also high on Case Keenum.
Yes.
Travis Kelce is his tight end. He's got Martavis Bryant.
Really?
No, sorry, Matt Bryant.
No,
Matt Bryant. On his bench, he's got Julian Edelman, who's suspended, obviously, for the first 4 games. He's going full Jordy Nelson off the bench.
That's going to be an interesting one, yeah. I think, on how that's going to work out in Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that we're curious about that can work out in Oakland when you trade away one of the best players in football.
But again, whether it's your team that you have through the year or whether it's what we do on Sundays, we do the DraftKings for the game. I mean, Jordy is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Of how it ended in Green Bay, of how productive he was with that quarterback, and then, with the injury he had and what's going to happen there.
And again, the Raiders are the oldest team going into this season that we've ever had as long as we've tracked how old rosters are in the NFL. Yeah. Lose your best player and go old guys. It's an interesting strategy. Let's see if it works out for John Gruden. Coming up, are we witnessing a new king in college football? Someone thinks so, and you'll hear it next.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Nick Saban's reaction to being asked about his quarterbacks is the same reaction Golic has when asked to choose between donuts and brats.
Why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Golic and Wingo.
In the history of rejoins in this show, that might have been the best one ever.
That was phenomenal.
That might have been the best one ever.
Quit asking. It's Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever.
Well, that's it? That sounded like there was more there.
Yeah, no, there really wasn't. It was a lot shorter than expected. It wasn't sports entertainment. I'm very confused right now.
We all are, because we're just thinking about beer, cheese, and bratwurst and keg stands at this point coming up Friday. We're going to be at the Tundra Trio, Green Bay, Friday morning, so stop by with us. It might be the full food and beverage experiment. All right, Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Now, we have a new NFL analyst. We had him on the show.
Yes we do.
Last week? Dan Orlovsky.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was great. You need to know Dan as more than the guy that stepped out of the back of the end zone in 2008 as a member of the Lions as their quarterback in their 0-16 season. The perfect symbol for the 0-16, the first 0-16 season. But he does a great job breaking down quarterbacks and football play, not only in the NFL, but also in college. And obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Alabama starting quarterback situation.
Yes.
And it is going to be Tua's job going forward. And let's just say recently on Get Up, count our own Dan Orlovsky as being all in on Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua is college football's version of LeBron 15 years ago. You know, a guy who has...
Wait.
Yeah.
Tua is college football's version of LeBron.
We've never seen anything like him. You know, this truly dual threat, and it's not a dual threat from chaos. It's a dual threat from execution. When I watch Tua play, I get Reggie Bush feelings like, what crazy play is going to happen? Listen, when you talk about dual threat quarterbacks, who can run and who can throw, usually there's a guy who does one really well and one okay. Tua does both spectacular. I mean, excellent. This team is going to score at will.
Well, a couple of things. First, we did hear Herbie talk about that as well when he joined us last week, that said if Tua is the quarterback there, that they are going to put up
that they've never really had before
of points. Exactly right. And to Dan makes a great point of the dual threat quarterback. You do always think of they do one better than the other, and if it's run, then you're really going to suffer in the passing game. But he talks about how this guy does both extremely well. Now, all of that said,
do it.
Whoa.
There it is.
Okay, I mean, come on. Oh. We saw some in the national championship game, a half there, and we saw a start against an inferior opponent in Louisville. Okay? I mean, he may turn out to be all that, but can we relax for a minute?
No.
Come
on, man. Put the pedal
Everybody's got to go to the hot take right off the bat,
no,
right?
You're pumping the brakes all the time, man.
Don't you know what we do here?
I see. I'm not. I guess I'm just not part of that group, but just saying, you know, the LeBron of college football.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting about this, because I think most times when you have a prodigy like a LeBron, or a young tennis player, for example, that you see early.
Bryce Harper
at 16.
Right.
You can go down the list of most sports. We knew Sid the Kid was going to be great. We knew Mario Lemieux from the moment he came up, he was going to be great. Football is very different along those lines, because predicting the prodigy-ness, for lack of a better term, is much more of a crapshoot than it is in any other sport.
But the one commonality there is for all those, you heard them before you saw them, right? You heard a lot about those guys before you ever saw them, and that was the same with Tua. Even before he was playing last year, for the people that were close to Alabama's program, all you heard was, this kid's lighting it up. This kid might be better than the guy we have, but Jalen Hurts had 2 losses on his resume during that time period, so it's sort of hard to bench that dude for a guy that hasn't played any college football. But we heard plenty about him before we saw him.
So do you agree with that? Are you going to say he's LeBron James of college football?
Well, no, because I think in this analogy, especially LeBron James of 15 years ago, we're talking about early in the NBA LeBron James, that was Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, much less around him at Louisville.
Right.
In that, we forget, we transfer so much and we look at how it translates to the NFL. In college, Lamar Jackson was a great passer in a Bobby Petrino offense that is not some spread run and gun offense. That has NFL concepts in that passing game, and he was great in both counts. There won't be, as good as Tua can be on the ground, no one will match what Lamar Jackson was able to do with his
on
legs.
The ground, right.
He's the most, and even in the air, he was, look at the numbers that guy put up in college. It wasn't 2,000-yard rushing seasons from Lamar Jackson.
Let's put it this way. When was the last time you heard of a prodigy in college football that turned out to be that good at the next level?
Well, I don't think it's about that, though. He's saying in the realm of college. He's saying in the realm of college football right now. He says college
I agree with that. He's not going to the NFL.
This isn't about the NFL. This isn't about projecting there. It's about in college.
But that's what makes it interesting, and I think this is the only sport where you can say, yeah, this guy is that good at this level, and you're just not sure about what happens at the next level. Because you mentioned Bryce Harper. We knew about along. Guess what? It worked out. Every other sport, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, it worked out. In football, it's different, and that's what makes it interesting.
But again, I am sticking to the college level on this. This has nothing to do with the NFL as far as,
because he invoked the one name to me that's sacred ground. That's Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush, the best college football player I've ever seen. He's the most exciting college football player I ever watched. Any comparison
take
to
your breath
that,
away.
Every comparison to that, Lamar Jackson was the first guy I felt comfortable since saying that's the level of excitement that comes there. We'll see if Tua can scratch that.
And I know we've run out of time with you, but I would take a little bit of exception to a great passer. He was a pretty good passer. He never once completed over 60% of his passes in college. He was a good passer.
He was good
enough.
He
wasn't a great passer.
He wasn't a Hall of Famer,
yeah.
But coming up, the NFL season is so close, and next hour we'll have 2 Hall of Famers. Oh, yeah.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the